Crashes, echelon, splits, Wout van Aert dancing off the front, Nairo still a god in crosswinds. This was Paris-Nice Stage 2. Stage 1 over-delivered. Some would say overperformed yesterday. They go south to Orléans today. Looks like a flat stage, nailed on sprint stage. Laporte 4 seconds ahead of Roglic on GC. He's wearing the leader's jersey for Jumbo. Roglic back in Froglic green jersey mode. And look at this. You know what's coming. You see those open plains. There's a 27k an hour wind coming from their left-hand side across tailwind, and it's a straight line south with that pretty much all day. The peloton knew it. All the riders woke up this morning knowing that. Apparently before TV coverage started, Van Aert had crashed, but he'd made his way back to the peloton and was kind of recovering at the back initially when Azure Citroën tried to launch a move when the road went into the right direction and the wind picked up, and immediately crashes. Mollema, McNulty caught up, their GC done. Before you even get to Turini, before you get to stage 7 in Paris-Nice, you've got crosswinds, often bad weather, and a TT to deal with. Girmay caught up with that as well, and Wout van Aert had wandered off the front of the peloton, joined, or echelon 1 would break up the road, joined by Jakobsen. Jakobsen said in the interview afterwards, "We love echelons at Quick Step," and he was so efficient in them today. Wout looking, thankfully, recovered after that crash earlier. But they had Dennis caught up, and it wasn't Jumbo-Visma taking control of the race straight away. Milano pacing whilst McNulty and Almeida were behind. He was going for the sprint. All the GC contenders apart from those guys still here, Haig and the Yates brothers, etc. Next minute, Jumbo-Visma try again. You see Mullins in the gutter there on the left-hand side. He's protecting. He's got a tough job because he's trying to protect Vlasov and Bennett at the same time, whereas Quickstep are on the other side. Nairo is in between, just behind them. Quickstep know what's happening. They see Wout van Aert launching. He's got Roglic in his wheel, and Roglic eating a lot of wind there. But I guess it's the safest place to be in. Quickstep are looking over, what are you doing up there, Wout? They immediately hit the panic stations and sprint to the front, whilst the gutter, which they've got in front of, gets shuffled backwards. You see Quintana somehow makes the first echelon here. It's unbelievable how good he is in crosswinds for his size. He makes the first echelon whilst the other guys on his right-hand side are getting shuffled back. Roglic, Van Aert, Christophe Laporte, Mike Turnison, incredible. And you see this gap here in front of the B&B rider. That is how splits happen. It takes one rider, loses the wheel, and then when they cut to the overhead shot, splits have occurred. And I didn't know if Jumbo-Visma were going to try again today. I was like, are they going to rest on their laurels with the 1, 2, 3 yesterday? They don't need to do anything today. They were trying to get a reduced group for Van Aert, but they had Jakobsen there, and there's Jakobsen, Mezgets, so Jakobsen's still the quickest man in this group, but I guess they were putting a lot of pressure on other GC contenders, like Bahrain with Haig and Bora with Vlasov were behind, whilst Nairo was pulling further in this split. By the way, this is the second echelon action. This is a great stage in the middle. The McNulty-Almeida group, they're gone, like 2 minutes behind. On bad luck for Jumbo-Visma. You see Turnison was annoyed. He had a flat at the wrong time. When it's strung out like this and you get a flat at a bad moment, again, that's your stage pretty much over. And so it went into a bit of a holding pattern. Ineos had made it. Luke Rowe on babysitting duty for Danny Martinez and Adam Yates did a fantastic job today. And this is the group chasing behind. And the key is, just don't give up, because eventually the road changes direction. The first echelon here with Van Hooijdonk on the front, calm down, flatten across, and that group with Haig, Luis Leon Sanchez and Vlasov were able to make it back. This is the Movistar group with, I think, Jorgensen behind. They didn't give up either, and they nearly made it back today as well. Luis Leon Sanchez pacing with Haig, fourth wheel, Jumbo at the front as well, but this looked like it was coming down to a sprint. 18k's left. You'd think they'd keep pacing. Tailwind run in. Jakobsen the man to beat. But there's Bennett here. Milano. Mezgets. There's still quick riders here. And when Bissegger attacks, he's followed by Philippe Gilbert and Stefan Kung. Kung has been really strong, but unlucky early this season. Laporte, in the yellow jersey, is the man bridging across for Jumbo-Visma. And I wondered at this moment, I was like shouting at the TV at this point, go on with it, Christoph. There's nothing you guys can't do right now. But it seemed like the plan was for him to mark this move, sit on if it went away, and he'd probably be the favourite in the sprint. But they were ultimately going for Wout van Aert in the sprint against Jakobsen. You even see when Kung goes again, it's Roglic marking it in the green jersey, and then Rowe has to follow that, Quintana follows that, calms down again, Van Hooijdonk on the front, and this is that Jorgensen group with Kruiswijk coming back. They'd eventually get tangled up with the crash. Bissiger goes again, and now Quick-Step eventually take control. They didn't want to burn their lead out too early. They wanted to conserve Lampard, Stieber, Seneschal for Fabio Jakobsen, who beat Caleb Ewan at Kuurne-Brosselkern the other weekend. Here, this is another, the dark arts of sprint lead-outs. You'll note the Quick-Step rider that's pulled off. We have a left-hand turn coming up. What he's going to try and do is slot back in on Jakobsen's wheel and then let it go through the corner to make Laporte's life really difficult, who's leading out Wout van Aert behind him. Quick-Step often try this through corners and chicane, and Laporte's having none of it. Laporte almost crashes in when he tries to move in on him, but that's often what you see lead-out men try and do through a corner, and that if Stieber had launched out of there, then Laporte's going to have to close to Jakobsen's wheel in the wind. So Stieber, Seneschal, then Jakobsen, but they're a little bit early. Even though we do have these corners, and Laporte's probably the fastest of all of them, and he launches before Seneschal gets out of the saddle. And this is looking bad for Jakobsen. Laporte came past so fast. Luckily for Jakobsen, Sturven wasn't right on the wheel of Wout van Aert, and Jakobsen's able to slot right onto his wheel, so Pedersen's race is gone as well. Not sure if he had a mechanical, and Jakobsen from that position proves who is probably the fastest man in the peloton right now after difficult classics style crosswind stages. Kuurne, he had Ewan in the wheel, beat him. Today, the difference in speed compared to him and Van Aert was really, really impressive. That being said, Van Aert had crashed earlier and initiated a lot of the crosswind action. Laporte took third after the lead out, then Mezgec, Pedersen, Sturven, Mozzardo, Milano, Oliver Naesen and Cees Bol rounding out the top 10. Tomorrow in Paris-Nice, we have a more Ardennes-style finish to the race. Got the Tirreno Adriatico and Netflix Drive to Survive in Cycling Tour de France announcement reaction on the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast. If you want to check that out this evening as well. Until tomorrow, ciao.